daña gravemente a la sociedad. Y eso fue lo que hizo esta gente. Lo que está ocurriendo no es una búsqueda de criminales, es discriminación, perfil racial y violencia sistémica contra nuestras comunidades inmigrantes y trabajadoras. Exigimos al gobierno que este agente de ICE no salga de Minnesota sin enfrentar todo el peso de la ley por el asesinato de nuestra hermana Renee Nicole Good. Pido pésame y solidaridad por la familia de nuestra hermana Renee Nicole Good, un ángel que dio su vida por nuestro pueblo. Say her name. Renee Good. Say her name. Renee Good. Okay, I know that took that long, but can I just translate? My name is Yvonne. I am here representing Jovita Morales, a beloved sister in the fight from Minnesota Immigrant Movement. Today, many Latino and immigrant communities across Minnesota mourn the loss of an angel, a young woman who gave her life for community without regard for race, skin color, religion, or gender. She understood that we are all human and that fighting for the well-being of one's family, community, and neighbors matters. Her actions reflected the principle that if one of us is attacked, we are all attacked. She embodied the values of love, solidarity, and the path towards the common good. For thousands of years, the color of our skin has been a painful burden. We continue to be discriminated against as we were during the times of colonization and slavery. Today, the simple act of having crossed the border, having a permit in process, or having an expired document is used by the system to persecute us, separate us, and kill us. Families who are only seeking to live with dignity and raise their children just as Europeans once did when they migrated to build a better future for descendants. Today, it is not only Minneapolis that mourns, it is Minnesota that mourns, and the entire world that mourns. How is it possible that someone can eat, pray, and live with their family as if nothing has happened, while their income is to take the life of our human beings? Faith in humanity should not allow anyone to live this way. Today, we say it clear. ICE has murdered. And whoever murders is a criminal. That agent must face criminal charges and justice should be served for Renee Nicole Good. The incident in which an ICE agent took the life of our community member and a young woman demonstrates a complete lack of preparation and serious negligence. We demand justice through an investigation. These agents' actions show that they lack the training and qualifications necessary to carry a weapon and wield power over our communities. We cannot allow that part. Fuck the FBI! Fuck the FBI! What is happening is not a search for criminals, it is a discrimination, racial profiling, and systematic violence against immigrant and working class communities. We demand that the government ensures that ICE agents do not leave Minnesota and that they face full weight and full charges of the law for the murder of our sister, Renee Nicole Good. Solidarity to the family of our sister and an angel who gave her life for our community. Todos repitan conmigo. Everyone follow. Seguiremos en la resistencia. Seguiremos en la resistencia. Seguiremos en la resistencia. Muchas gracias.
Give it up for the movimiento de inmigrantes in Minnesota. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Alright, y'all, we're about to start marching. Because no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I want to just pause real quick. Three upcoming events. Because as the council member said, we need to be in these streets doing patrols. And we need to be in these streets making sure our demands are made very loud and very clear. All of Minneapolis, all of Minnesota, and the whole goddamn country. So tomorrow night, we're going to be downtown at the Canopy by Hilton because they've been hosting ICE agents. And for weeks now, we've been making sure any hotel that profits off this ICE occupation of our city, that they fucking hear about it. We'll pull up tomorrow, 7 p.m. And then Mirac, y'all got to march on Saturday, right? And at 1 p.m. at the court, 1 p.m., Powderhorn Park. Come out to that. That's 3 days in a row. Plus the vigil, that's 4. Let's stay in these streets.
What's your plan? Are you going to walk? Maybe a little bit. Okay. You too?
Yeah, but I want to stick with all of you.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Before we start rolling, his name's Jaylani Hussein. You know him. He's the Executive Director of CARE Minnesota. Give it up for Jaylani.
I want to just thank all of you for being here today. Thank you for showing up. You did the most important thing. You are here right now. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. We are at a crossroads. We did not do what was necessary to end police brutality and murders going through. We were given a second chance to do it right after the murder of Nicole Good. We had a second chance to do this right. Minneapolis, we are at a crossroads one more time again. We are here at another moment to say to this nation that a human right is not disposable.
Very sorry.
Nicole told the truth. Nicole spoke for our neighbors. Nicole is all of us. If you are Renee, I'm Renee. If all of us understand in this moment that we did the same thing that Renee did. We stood for our neighbors. We pulled our phones out and we recorded the abuses that were happening. And in fact, it is because we are standing up for each other, that we are standing for our neighbors, that we are holding our phones. They are not happy with the idea that all we want is accountability, that all we want is justice for people, that we will not let them take our neighbors in vain. You saw the video. They're trying to die again. They're trying to recognize that we didn't see the same video. We saw the same video. And I want to tell you that video would not have happened if people were not out there recording it. To all those people that stood right next to Renee, I want to let you know thank you for standing up for justice. Thank you for recording the brutal hours of that moment. Thank you for taking care of your neighbors, those who are inside the homes and recording it from far, and those those that were nearby that were recording it from near, we have the evidence. We have the truth. And the truth is on our side. And what we saw was murder on Minneapolis streets. Earlier today, we requested that the Minneapolis Police Department, the Hennepin County Sheriff, both begin an investigation of what happened to Renee. And if they say no, we know why. But I know for sure that if they hear from all of us, we will get justice for Renee. We will get justice for her. But in this moment right now, we need all of you to stand up. We need the people who are at home right now to stand up. We need you to flood the calls and call your legislators and call your leaders, both here and in Congress. Call your friends and colleagues from other states across this country. We need to rein ICE back in. We need ICE out of Minnesota. And we need to on multiple occasions. They are untrained, trigger-happy murderers. That's exactly what we saw. How do you send nearly 2,000? How do you send 2,000 of these officers to our state if it's not political? If it's not political. This is political violence against because of who we are. They are coming for us here in Minneapolis because we have decided to stand up for each other. That we have decided that we're not going to be divided. That is why they're coming for us. But you know what? They have not known that we went through after the murder of George Floyd. We are more resilient than ever before. Who else is fucking pissed right now? In cold blood, not 5 fucking blocks from here. And our anger is good, and our anger is necessary, and it is righteous. It's the future we deserve. A future without blood-sucking corporations buying ICE
Fucking kill the billionaires!
Racist bullshit police. But at some point, we gotta look at what we're building to. Right before I came here, I was at the site of a tragedy. I was at the site where Renee Nicole Good was murdered. I don't know if you guys have been there, but the people are fucking holding that street right now. We know where ICE is operating. We know they're at the Whipple building. Every time we go there, they pepper spray us, they tear gas us.
Fuck them!
Our way out of this is doing what they're doing on Portland. Holding the street. No fucking ICE in our neighborhood.
Hell yeah!
Providing food for their community, providing warming spots, building barricades and clearing ice, the water kind off to the sidewalks.
Purple!
Fucking beautiful, right? Yeah!
to think about what community control of our neighborhoods looks like and to start working towards that right fucking now. Keep taking the streets and get this march going.
Arm us. We're pistols. I said arm us.
Unite and fight for immigrant rights!
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 I want to thank everyone else for being out here tonight. I want to thank the other speakers. They fucking destroyed it. They got you riled up, ready to march. I'm with the country, Democratic Socialist of America. I'm also a lifelong Southsider. I'm up alongside Lori from Holland and Spanish neighbors. Same areas that be terrorized by fascist occupying force right now. These are my friends I grew up with. These families are grown now, whether in school or college. These families are being ripped apart like fascist fucking kids. Now a fascist murderer is on the street.
No, but I bet. Federal Immigration Authority shot 2 people in Portland.
But they're not dead, are they?
Sound like this in Vegas? Mine's 2 bucks an hour.
Okay, and I'm a little further out. What I'm thinking is, I can run. Like, you could market
That's a good idea. Why don't we just
I think the question is
these guys seem a lot more amped up than last week.
I agree.
Repeat after me. Power to the people. Power to the people. No one is illegal. No one is illegal. Power to the people. Power to the people. No one is illegal. No one is illegal. Power to the people. Power to the people. No one is illegal. No one is illegal. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I saw First Street. I saw First Street. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I saw First Street. I saw First Street. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I saw First Street. I saw First Street.
Yeah.
I think the race is the way.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Move ICE. Get out the way. 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 Up with immigrants. Down with Trump. Down with Trump. Up with immigrants. Fuck ICE!
each other. But it's hard to believe that on days like today and yesterday. It's hard to believe that when you feel helpless as your community is torn from you. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes this world is lonely and cold. Sometimes this world is lonely and cold. Sometimes this world is lonely and cold. So far from home, I'm a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless, fatherless child. Sometimes my suffering's so great, I am a motherless child. Sometimes we all feel like motherless child. A long way from home, that may be your home. A long way from home. Now I'm going to sing something to you and you're going to sing it back to me. Singing with each other is one of the most important things we can do because you practice doing a hard and scary thing when it's easy. So when it's time to stand up to those ghouls on the street, it's easier. Right? Because you got to practice now. Because your voice is going to shake when you stand those motherfuckers down. Okay? But you got to do it. Let your voice shake. We do it together. So you say, hey-oh, we won't be silent while our friends are gunned down. Try it. Hey-oh, we won't be silent while our friends are gunned down. Yeah, say, hey-oh, we won't be silent while our friends are, gunned down. You got it? Sing. Hey-oh, hey, we won't be silent while our friends are, gunned down. One more time, say. Hey-oh. That's right, sing. That's it. Louder. Keep that going. We won't be silent while our friends are gunned down. Little faster. We won't be silent while our friends are gunned down. That's it. Say. We won't be silent while our friends going. I am a sleeping giant. There is a riot in my bones. We will not be silent. That's right. Till all our friends are home, sing that I am a sleeping giant. There is a riot.
Ice out now! 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 Ice out now!
Those aren't hormones. They're just making sure cars can't come over. Yeah. But do your best to stay ahead of them. Yeah. Thank you.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace. Justice, no peace.
Immigrants are welcome here!
up, man? You hanging in there? What's up? You hanging in there? Oh, good. I'm a little tired, but yeah. That's the one from 1 to 3:30. Oh, shit. You got me beat.
Immigrants are welcome here. Immigrants are welcome here. Immigrants are welcome here. Ho ho! These fascists have got to go. Hey hey! Ho ho! These fascists have got to go. Hey hey! Ho ho! These fascists have got to go. Hey hey! Immigrants are welcome here. 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 We don't want your dirty ice. Immigrants are welcome here. We don't want your dirty ice. Immigrants are welcome here. We don't want your dirty ice. 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 We don't want your dirty ice.
Just don't do nothing to my truck.
Guys hit the pinchy.
here, and we're making sure that that they have all the resources that they need. And of course, our priority and main concern is that there's a thorough and complete investigation, that all facts that can be learned are obtained, and that we can get as much information as possible.
What's your message to the community right now?
I think the message to the community is that local officials are very carefully monitoring this, and we're making sure that the interests of this community are well represented, and this investigation is done in a thorough and complete manner.
Can you say anything about the scene? You were just over there. Thank you. Okay, so you guys just heard from Nathan Vasquez. That was an impromptu press conference. As you just heard, he is going to let a
Claudia's statement in English, while Rufina will read it in Spanish.
Mi nombre es Rufina Rodríguez, organizadora de Latina con la Alianza Nacional de Trabajadores del Hogar, y daré este mensaje de nuestro miembro líder, Claudia.
My name is Rufina Rodriguez, and I am a Latin organizer for the National Domestic Workers Alliance, and I will be sharing the statement from our leader, Claudia.
Estamos aquí hoy en una vigilia para apoyar a la familia de René.
Investigation, so
Okay.
can't comment on the scene.
Do you know anything about the victims?
Yeah, it's not something I can comment on.
Okay. He just said that was not something he could comment on right now, but as you can...
Good. Estamos con ellos en su dolor. Y lamentamos su pérdida de un gran ser humano. Lamentamos su muerte y rogamos por ella.
We are here today at the vigil to support the family of Renee Good. We stand with them in their grief over the loss of a great human being. We mourn her death and pray for her.
Renee Nicole Good era voluntaria de la comunidad, apoyaba a sus vecinos, pero ayer su vida fue arrebatada a tiros por un agente de ICE que realizaba una redada, quien disparó quitándole la vida a Good.
Renee Nicole Good was a community volunteer supporting her neighbors, but yesterday her life was taken by gunfire from an ICE agent conducting a raid and shot and killed Good.
Estamos viviendo la violencia y la destrucción que ICE comete diariamente en el país, en todas nuestras comunidades, y nos estamos aterrorizando. Nuestra tranquilidad en la vida cotidiana no existe más porque tenemos miedo a salir de casa y no regresar y llevar a nuestros hijos a la escuela y no volverlos a ver, de ir a realizar las compras básicas a los supermercados.
We are witnessing the violence and destruction that ICE commits daily in our country, in all our communities, and they are terrorizing us. Our peace of mind in everyday life no longer exists because we are afraid to leave home we could not return, or to take care of our children to school and never see them again, to do our basic shopping in supermarkets and be detained, or to go to work in fear of being arrested at any moment and not returning home to our families.
Ya son varias familias que están pasando por esta situación. Los esposos o familiares que han sido detenidos y deportados a su país de origen. dejando a sus hijos llorando sin esperanza de volverlos a ver y sin oportunidad de pelear por su caso ante un juez.
Several families are already going through this situation. Spouses or relatives have been detained and deported to their country of origin, leaving their children crying with no hope of seeing them again and no opportunity to fight their case before a judge.
Queremos que toda esta situación ya pase, porque somos gente trabajadora y que no hacemos daño a nadie, que estamos aquí luchando día a día para tener una mejor vida para nuestras familias, porque queremos vivir una vida tranquila y eso dejó de ser desde que tenemos esta nueva administración de gobierno.
We want this whole situation to end, and because we are hard-working people who do not harm anyone, who are here fighting every day to have a better life for our families, because we want to live a peaceful life, and that has ceased to be the case since we have this new government administration.
Ayer, René trabajaba como voluntaria para apoyar a las comunidades inmigrantes y le quitaron la vida.
Yesterday, Renee was working as a volunteer to support immigrant communities, and her life was taken.
Exigimos un paro de toda esta situación porque somos seres humanos buscando una mejor calidad de vida y estamos aquí aportando a este país. Pedimos encarecidamente que dejen de aterrorizar a nuestra comunidad y que no sigan separando a miles de familias a través del país. Queremos paz y tranquilidad en nuestra vida diaria, sin temores ni miedos a ser arrestados por agentes de ICE.
We demand an end to this situation because we are human beings seeking a better quality of life. We are here contributing to this country. We strongly urge you to stop terrorizing our community and to stop separating thousands of families across the country. We want peace and tranquility in our daily lives without fear or anxiety of being arrested by ICE agents.
Yo quiero preguntarles a todos ustedes, aquí, ¿quién tiene el poder? Sabemos que el pueblo tiene el poder para hacer un buen cambio.
I want to ask you all, who has the power? We know the people have the power to affect change. Thank you.
Who has the power? Who has the power? We have the power.
Hi there. Do you live in the area? No.
Who has the power? One more time. Who has the power? What kind of power? People power. All right. As we close tonight, I want folks to be mindful in leaving. Leave with a buddy. We know there's a lot of cops around. There's ICE agents around. Leave with a buddy. Make sure your neighbor gets home safely. But I also want to leave us with this reminder that none of us is defined by the oppression and the fear that might haunt our lives.
Do you have a heavier jacket?
We know that
can come over and take that
our immigrant families are not defined by the threat of ICE, just as America is not defined by the threat of Trump. And so we're going to sing as we close, and I've invited my good friend, Rabbi Linda Holtzman, to come up and lead us in a song. And there's so many more of you than there are flowers up front here, but there are flowers up front. And so as we close, we're going to pass them out. I invite you to take one with you, as many of you get one. As a reminder that beauty, that community, that joy will prevail.
Do you think it's
that fear does not have the final word. That all of us will see a future where ICE does not exist. Our children and our
what?
grandchildren will grow up in a future where ICE does not exist,
Nathan Vasquez.
where no human being is illegal. That is the world we fight for. That is the vision that we rise for. That is why we are here tonight. We will see you Monday at 6:30 outside the ICE office. We'll see you again at 11 a.m. that same day if you're with Senator Haywood. We'll see you Wednesday at noon there with New Sanctuary Movement. We'll see you the following Wednesday evening
Is that
at
your
Friends
phone?
Center with No ICE Philly at 7 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Take a moment before we leave. Look around.
They want us in frame.
What an extraordinary community is here. Together we are strong. We are angry. We are brokenhearted. But we are strong. And we have a vision for the future. Take a moment. Breathe. Yeah. We're staying still. We're standing still. And together we sing because we rise. Repeat after me. We rise. Try it. We rise. Humbly hearted. Rise. We won't be divided. Rise. With spirit to guide us. Rise. The chorus is in hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. Try that. In hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. And in hope and prayer. We're right here. In hope and prayer. We're right here. In hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. In hope and prayer. We're right here. In hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. In hope and prayer. We're right here. We rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us. Rise in hope and prayer. In hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. In hope and prayer. We're right here. We're not going anywhere. In hope and prayer. We find ourselves here. In hope and prayer. We're right here. We rise up from the wreckage. Rise with tears and with courage. Rise fighting for life. We rise together in hope and prayer. We find ourselves here in hope and prayer. We're right here in hope and prayer.
Go in peace. Get home safely. Take care of your neighbors. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jay.
Hey, real quick before you all go, ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power
Like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what? Hey! Power! People don't stop.
Say what?
Hey! Power! People!
The power of the people don't stop.
Last time! Hey!
No power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Don't stop! It's a hard one to stop. Take that energy with you and go in peace. Fuck ICE! Abolish, no, eliminate ICE.
I feel like yeah. Told me to stay put down on okay. It's a little chilly. I guess I mean nothing.
Ending up together against this racist terror and being brave enough to speak out because they're criminalizing dissent. They are going after all of us. And I'm going to say Renee Good, presente. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Fuck ICE and fuck the fascist USA. Thank you.
Woo! All right. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. 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 No hate, Immigrants are welcome here, no hate, no fear. 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 Immigrants are welcome here. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. I said, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. I said, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. I said, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. I said, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. I said, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. That's right, that's right. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. No justice, no peace. We want ICE off our streets. Cause whose street? Said whose street? I said whose street? I said whose street? Make some noise. Next we have our next speaker, Anam, from the Palestinian Youth Movement. Make some more noise.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of the Palestinian Youth Movement, a transnational, independent, grassroots organization of Palestinian and Arab youth in the diaspora, fighting for the liberation of our homelands from Zionism and imperialism. Today, we demand justice for Renee Nicole Good and all of those murdered and abducted by ICE. Renee Nicole Good dedicated herself to organizing an organizer and a friend to many. Today, we're here to assert the precious and immeasurable value of the lives of every immigrant kidnapped by ICE, every person murdered by the police, and every person of the Global South impacted by this country's illegal imperialist wars. Killing Renee is one more notch in the belt of a racist, murderous, genocidal administration. Another hit of Trump's private masked armed militia that has been deployed across the country. They killed her not because they were protecting the law as they claim, but because they see themselves as above it, and because they want to strike fear into any person of conscience that tries to get in their way. And of course, we're witnessing that administration lie. They'll tell you that the video of a woman in retreat is actually evidence of domestic terrorism. They'll claim that these agents armed to the teeth were acting in self-defense. It's a classic fascistic pattern to create unlivable conditions of violence, then paint all those who dare resist as violent terrorists, and claim that the offenders were only acting in self-defense. As people working for Palestinian liberation, we see the parallels in how the Israeli occupation forces operate in Palestine and how law enforcement agents operate here in the heart of the US empire. We know that they take their disgusting tactics from the same playbook and that they work hand in hand to exchange strategies of violence and brute force with one another. In Minneapolis, a doctor approached the scene shortly after Renee was shot, and ICE agents held him off until at gunpoint to prevent him from administering critical life-saving aid. Ambulances were also blocked off from the scene when they arrived. When refusing entry to medics, ICE agents transported Renee. Just a week ago, 26-year-old Khatab Mohammed Tarakume was shot and killed by Zionist forces during a dawn raid in the West Bank, after he and his friends tried to take down an Israeli flag that the IOF had placed at the entrance of their village. Afterwards, his body was abducted and still to this day has not been returned to his family. Khatab's story is one of the countless stories of Palestinian martyrs, and it reflects the IOF's standard response when shooting a Palestinian in the West Bank. The Palestinian Red Crescent ambulances and medics are blocked off from entering the scene when a Palestinian is still alive, ensuring that they will die. Then, the Zionist entity abducts and holds the body indefinitely, granting impunity to the soldier who fired the fatal round and punishing the grieving family by depriving them of the ability to hold a dignified burial for their loved one. In the end, they claim self-defense and call all Palestinians terrorists, while they actively steal their land and murder our people. The killings themselves are extremely public and meant to function as a form of deterrence for any future resistance. This is further proof on how our struggles are interconnected, as the U.S.'s violence domestically is connected to the violence that it supports and enacts abroad. The oppressors of the world share their tactics to suppress any resistance to their tyranny. They do this to scare us because they know that the masses hold power. And if we unite through organization, we are able to deliver critical hits to the imperialist war machine. We will get justice for Renee, for Khatab, and for all of our people by flooding the streets and organizing to strengthen ourselves and weaken our oppressors through winnable campaigns. That is why we have been waging a local campaign against the Virginia retirement system. Invest $300 million of Virginia residents' pension funds
Men and women
into
of federal law
corporations that
enforcement
manufacture
are
and
under
supply
organized attack. Right now, immigration and customs enforcement officers are facing a 1,200% increase in assaults, a 3,200% increase in vehicle rammings, and an 8,000% increase in death threats. ICE agents are faithfully enforcing federal law to protect the safety of the American people by removing criminal illegal aliens from our country, which is exactly what nearly 80 million Americans elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance to do. Radicals in the Democrat Party are furious over this. They don't want our border secured or criminal illegal aliens being removed. As a result, Democrats are impeding immigration enforcement operations daily, creating extremely heightened and dangerous circumstances that make it nearly impossible for the men and women of law enforcement to simply do their jobs. Democrats are calling to defund federal law enforcement agencies who are protecting public safety. And Democrats are calling to abolish ICE and defund the police. That will never be allowed to happen under this president and vice president. The Trump administration will redouble our efforts to get the worst of the worst, criminal illegal alien killers, rapists, and pedophiles off of American streets. The Department of Homeland Security will continue to operate on the ground in Minnesota, not only to remove criminal illegal aliens, but also to continue conducting door-to-door investigations of the rampant fraud that has taken place in the state under the failed and corrupt leadership of Democrat Governor Tim Walz. Taxpayers have been ripped off to the tune of billions of dollars in this one state alone, and that is going to end, and people are going to be held accountable. The Trump administration has activated thousands of federal agents, doubled the number of U.S. attorneys in the DOJ office in Minneapolis, and surged resources to hold fraudsters accountable and demand justice for law-abiding American taxpayers and citizens across our country. And that's what brings the Vice President out here with me today to discuss all the Trump administration is doing and to make an additional important announcement on this front. So please, Mr. Vice President, will be joining us now.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to echo some of what Carolyn said about what we're doing to combat the rampant fraud that exists in our immigration system, thanks to failed politicians and thanks to people who allowed the American taxpayer to be taken advantage of for far too long. I think it's important to understand why this matters to the American people. I am a father of 3 young kids, a lot of people in my generation. What is that going on there? Is that normal? Okay. CNN installed this broken camera just to throw me off my game, but it's not going to work. So here's the simple fact here. If you're a young parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier for your kids to get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need. But number 2, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused on SNAP fraud so that people who need food benefits can get them, but illegal aliens and other fraudsters don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas that the Department of Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way. I want to thank a couple of people for their cooperation, in particular Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, first of all, for getting a lot of resources to Minneapolis to start to investigate and prosecute this fraud really at an industrial scale. We've never seen fraud like this in the history of our country. Pam has been doing a great job to get the resources there to uncover it, but importantly, creating a job like this often takes months, sometimes even longer. When we realized that we needed this Associate Attorney General position, Pam got this person up and running in about a week. We're going to make the nomination hopefully in the next few days. We'll obviously let you guys know who that is when we do it. I've talked to Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who has promised me swift confirmation for this official, but this is the person who is going to make sure that we stop defrauding the American people. Here's one final thing I'll say about this. I've heard a lot of people say that we need a special counsel to investigate fraud in the United States of America. I actually agree, and that's what this position does. It has all the benefits, all the resources, all the authority of a special counsel, but with 2 crucial differences. Number 1, it will be run out of the White House under the supervision of me and the President of the United States. And number 2, it's actually constitutionally legitimate. As you guys may know, the special counsel statute has some major constitutional questions. When we get the bad guys, we want to make sure we get them permanently and they don't have some legal technicality they can get out of, which is why we set it up as an Associate Attorney General. I'll take some questions, but I want to make just one final observation here. When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE, I stand with ICE, we stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, "When things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863, and I think we may be in that moment now." Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Fry and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe in fact has participated in fraud. That's what this new Assistant Attorney General position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
Unrelated question here. I mean, Democrats have accused ICE of murder. They've said they're targeting Americans. They've told ICE to get the F out of Minnesota. This is going to stoke the fire against ICE agents, and you're talking about ICE agents right now and being concerned about them. What, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration. So number one, we have to say, as a matter of leadership, and I would appreciate if the Democrats would join me on this, let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing, to try to make it impossible for them to enforce the law, and in some cases actually to engage in acts of domestic terrorism against our law enforcement officers. When you talk about different plans, different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly how you asked the question. Here's the simple fact. What we're going to do is make it easier for the American people's administration to enforce the American people's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations, and that means that we are going to get tougher, and that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we're going to do. We've already started that work at the Department of Justice. We're going to keep on doing it, and this new AAG position is going to kick that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out, but here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? You see, just with this most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see friends of this woman's or other people who are eyewitnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn about this? There's an entire network, and frankly, some of the media are participating in it, that is trying to incite violence against our law enforcement officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it. Who's funding it? Who's supporting it? Who's cheerleading it? And of course, if there's illegal activity related to that, we're going to get to the bottom of that and prosecute it where we can.
Vice President, thank you for taking questions today. Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these events, when an investigation is just beginning? Are you preempting a thorough investigation by drawing such conclusions? And have you received any information beyond the videos we've seen publicly about this individual, her specific acts, that has informed your point of view?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who is trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have to agree with our immigration policies. You don't have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement, but why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful and it's got to stop.
Just to follow up on that question, and again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota, across the country, over this incident. You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing play out in Minnesota, bring down the temperature as this investigation is unfolding?
What we have a responsibility to do is to protect the people who are enforcing the law and protect the country writ large. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you deserve to have the people's laws enforced in the United States of America. Now again, I'm not happy that this woman lost her life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest violating the law by interfering with a law enforcement action. I think that we can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature. And we're not going to give in to terrorism on this. And that's exactly what's happened. People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence. They throw bricks at them. Sometimes they shoot at them. Sometimes they dox them. Sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And we cannot say that when a far left fringe is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials, that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding the very people who are engaged in this garbage. The actual reward that they just got is a new assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate this stuff even more aggressively than before. Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue, that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is, I'm sorry guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
Mr. Vice President, I mean, you presumably watched the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim, you still believe that she deliberately tried to ram him despite seeing this video?
Look, I don't know what is in a person's heart or in a person's head, and obviously we're not going to get the chance to ask this woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I am certain of is that that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious threat for injury or in fact, his life. What I'm certain of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy. I don't know what was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. It raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, you know, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly. That's what I have an objection to. The idea that this was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President,
in the green jacket.
Taking down the temperature. It seems like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. What steps does the administration have planned to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so tired of fighting with each other, and I think all the journalists in this room could agree with me that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you have any words to unite America?
You know, I know you don't want to be a part of the problem, and I think that's true of a lot of you. I'm not sure it's true for everybody, because the reporting over this has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so misrepresented and misreported when you have a guy who is defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, you know, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law they should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message, following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the situation on the ground, on the streets? What's your message also to those protesters who saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video?
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened. But when you look at all angles of that video, it is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him. And then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I'd say to the protesters is, by all means, protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis from Tim Walz on down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. We had a wide open border under Joe Biden. I happen to think it's a good thing the President of the United States has closed it down. If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision. Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I guarantee you go to ICE, there are black people and white people, there are Democrats and Republicans, they are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me, lay off of our ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You've called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, look, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least he looked the other way. I mean, this is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. This is, we're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Learning Center. By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Can you explain the difference between this Associate Attorney General and a special counsel? And do you envision this being a permanent position or having more of a limited scope?
Well, it's going to be permanent until we get to the bottom of what's going on, so I think it's going to last for at least the remainder of the administration. What's different about it from a special counsel is, if you remember, the Jack Smith case where the special counsel was found unconstitutional, one of the big issues there is that person was not an appointed person, completely aside from all the other issues, that the person was a lunatic and that the case had no merit. There was a fundamental constitutional issue, which is that he had not been appointed by the president and he had not been confirmed by the United States Senate. An assistant attorney general, what that's going to allow us to do is appoint this person, have them confirmed by the Senate. That's one difference. The more substantive difference is that this person is going to be part of a very broad interagency White House that's being led from the President of the United States on down, and that's going to give them the resources, the access to material and information to make this person more effective. I think a lot of people have asked, how are you really going to get to the heart of the fraud? We've been asking ourselves that question for the past couple of months, and we think this is the critical piece at the Department of Justice to really ramp this fraud investigation into high gear. In the red tie, yeah.
Vice President Vance, I wanted to ask, what's your message to far leftist agitators who feel emboldened to obstruct ICE activity in Minnesota and around the country?
Well, I think they shouldn't feel emboldened because now they have an Assistant Attorney General who is going to prosecute and investigate their fraud and their violence more aggressively than it has ever been investigated in the United States of America. We are doing so much to try to find the financing networks and the domestic terrorism networks that legitimate this violence, that fund this violence, and that, of course, engage in the violence. These people should not feel emboldened because they have, for the first time, maybe in American history, an administration that is not going to tolerate political violence of any kind from anywhere. Yeah.
We are clear today that the entire weight of the federal government is behind these ICE agents and this ICE agent in particular. There is still a federal investigation happening on the ground. Does that mean that they are not looking into this ICE agent at all? They are just focused on the woman who was in the car? What is the investigation if the federal government has already determined that its weight is behind this ICE investigation?
So what do you mean? When you say investigation, do you mean investigation of the shooting yesterday or of the fraud that's happening in Minneapolis?
Yesterday.
Okay, look, DHS, as I understand it, has an investigation already ongoing. I know that other organs of our government are looking at this. So yes, there is certainly an investigation that's happening right now. But as part of the broader fraud investigation, a lot of what we're doing with the Department of Justice has already started. We've got over 1,500 subpoenas. We've got people this morning, actually, we're going door to door to actually knock on some of these fraudulent care centers, these fraudulent social services organizations to get to the bottom of what's going on there. So the investigation in some ways has already been ramping up into the anti-fraud element for at least a few weeks. What we're trying to do is supercharge it and make sure there's a designated person within the Department of Justice who completely controls that particular focus.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Vice President, on the agent, is he still on duty or has he been placed on leave, on administrative leave? And what really was the target of the operation on Wednesday? Of the ICE operation on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, it was a legitimate law enforcement operation. We were going door to door to try to find criminal illegal aliens and deport them from the United States of America, because if you come to our country illegally in violation of our immigration laws, then we have the mandate, and in fact we have the legal duty to enforce those immigration laws. Whether he's been placed on administrative leave, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd refer it to the Department of Homeland Security and they can follow up. I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time, it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude, and I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen from the American media. Yeah.
Vice President, what is your specific role in the future of Venezuela? And I'm wondering, could you confirm reports that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was kept out of the planning for the operations because of her past concerns about military involvement in Venezuela?
So I've heard a couple of things. One, that I was kept out of the planning for the Venezuela operation, that's false. And another, that Tulsi was kept out of the planning for Venezuela operations, that's completely false. Look, we're all part of the same team. And one of the things that is really amazing about that operation is that we kept it very tight to the senior cabinet level officials and related officials in our government. And we kept this operation secret for a very long time. I'm very proud of that. I think it suggests that the team works very well together. Well, looking ahead, what is my role? Look, my role is going to be whatever the president asks me to do.
Has he asked you to do something yet?
Well, every other day, I'm chairing the meeting that we do on this among White House principals to talk about next steps to try to ensure that Venezuela is stable, and as the president has directed us to do, to ensure that the new Venezuelan government actually listens to the United States and does what the United States needs it to do under our country's best interest. So I'm going to be as involved as the president wants me to be. So far, that's been very involved, and I'll keep on doing that so long as the president asks me to do it. In the purple.
Yes.
Even
Mr.
beyond the War Powers
Sorry,
resolution.
we'll go purple and then we'll go pink or whatever that is in front.
Royal purple. And then beige. All right.
Okay.
Are there any indications, you talked about the network, are there any indications that the lady who was shot, I know there are different reports from there, her wife said they were new to the area.
Are there any indications she may have been a paid agitator, and maybe that there are others that were brought to the area, considering everything that's going on in Minneapolis?
I wouldn't say that she was paid. I don't have the evidence to say that one way or the other. What I do know is that she was violating the law. And if you just look at the eyewitness accounts, they were saying she was there to prevent the enforcement of the law. She was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. That much is obviously clear. The rest of it, of course, is part of the reason why we investigate this stuff. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President, even beyond the war powers resolution today, Congress has bucked President Trump on issues like tariffs. Are you concerned that President Trump is losing his grip on Republicans in the Congress, and what are you going to do about it?
No, I'm not concerned at all. First of all, we talked to some of the senators who were going to vote the wrong way, in my view, on this resolution today. Much of their argument was based more on a legal technicality than any disagreement in policy. If you look at the people who actually voted, every single one of them have supported the administration's plan. Second of all, as the president, I believe himself, has already said, every president, Democrat or Republican, believes the War Powers Act is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law. It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, and that'll continue to be how we approach things. Go ahead.
President. So we are seeing, regarding Iran, we are seeing the protests in Iran these days. The cities are begging for help from the U.S. and Israel, naming streets in the city after President Trump. It seems there is an opportunity here that may not come again. Will the United States stand by the citizens of Iran? And if Israel decides to strike again the nuclear sites in Iran, is the U.S. expected to take part?
Well, look, we certainly stand by anybody who's engaged in peaceful protest, anybody who's trying to exert their rights for free association and to have their voices heard. Obviously, the Iranian regime has a lot of problems. And as the President of the United States has said, the smartest thing for them to have done, it was true 2 months ago, it's true today, is for them to actually have a real negotiation with the United States about what we need to see when it comes to their nuclear program. I'll let the President speak to what we're going to do in the future, but we certainly stand with anybody across the world, including the Iranian people who are advocating for their rights. I'll take just a couple more questions. Yeah,
thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Concerning Venezuela, how would you assure the Caribbean region that they will remain a zone of peace? Because some member states in the region are concerned.
Well, look, the President had a very productive phone call with the President of Colombia yesterday, and we continue to talk at all levels of government with a number of our friends in the Caribbean region. I actually think this is really good for peace in the Caribbean, because when you take away a major source of illegal cartel revenue, which is the cocaine trade, the fentanyl trade, other sources of illicit revenue, you actually remove the power of one of the main destabilizing forces in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I really do think, look, we say it all the time, this is the President of peace. One of the ways that you establish peace in your own hemisphere is to make it clear that the United States is going to be respected, that the United States is willing to take power away from criminal cartel organizations and give it to legitimate governments. That's how we see the future of the Western Hemisphere, and we think it's going to be much more peaceful than it was certainly under Joe Biden. I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. On Greenland, do you have a message for European leaders? Many in Europe reject the idea that the island could be for sale.
Well, first of all, Secretary Rubio, I believe, is meeting with the leaders of Denmark and Greenland next week, I want to say it is, but maybe it's the week after that. We'll continue to deliver some of these messages in private, some of them in public, but I guess my advice to European leaders and anybody else would be to take the President of the United States seriously. What has he said about Greenland? Set to the side the crazy overreactions that I've seen from the press and from certain people in Europe. What has the President said? Number one, Greenland is really important, not just to America's missile defense, but to the world's missile defense. Number two, we know that there are hostile adversaries that have shown a lot of interest in that particular territory, that particular slice of the world. So what we're asking our European friends to do is to take the security of that landmass more seriously, because if they're not, the United States is going to have to do something about it. What that is, I'll leave that to the President as we continue to engage in diplomacy with our European friends and everybody on this particular topic. And again, thank you all for listening. Thanks for taking questions. And I just ask you, look, this is politics, and often Republicans and get in arguments with the press about things. And I understand that. I think it's really irresponsible for you guys to go out there and imply or tell the American people that a guy who defended himself from being rammed by an automobile is guilty of murder. Be a little bit more careful. We're going to talk about toning down the temperature, which I know the President wants to do, and I certainly want to do. One of the ways we tone down the temperature is to have a media that tells the truth. I encourage you all to do that. God bless you. Happy New Year, guys.
I can't get my fucking car.
且是美国公民，不但震惊全美，同时也引发了明尼苏达州的群众愤怒。不过，现在联邦政府是口径一致，认为因为死者是企图冲撞执法人员。不过，州长华兹召开记者会，痛斥美国总统川普是未审先判，让案件很难有公平的结果。
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know, don't know.
由于美国联邦政府的官员他们口径是一致的，而国土安全部部长诺姆甚至指控是被害人企图开车冲撞执法人员是本土恐怖主义的行为，因此不但是在当地引发了上千人的抗议，首都华府以及东岸大城费城都有民众冒着低温上街抗议，而川普政府对于移民的严厉执法现在也引发了一些争议。好，整体事件呢，现在这个美国联邦政府是认为说他当时是试图要开车冲撞执法人员，所以这个执法人员他们是出于自卫的立场来对他开枪。而现在这个地方官员还有媒体看法是南辕北辙。美国副总统范斯在台湾时间今天的凌晨召开记者会，就表示说这个执法过当的媒体应该觉得自己很可耻。
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our...
I'm the Public Information Manager here at the Portland Police Bureau. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us on such short notice. We're here to address the shooting incident involving federal agents in Southeast Portland earlier this afternoon. We have a number of speakers, including Mayor Keith Wilson, Governor Tina Kotek, and many others who I will let introduce themselves as they come to the podium. We'll begin with Chief Bob Day, who will share some details about the shooting and then some of those remarks of his, and we'll go on from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to share just a few details. As you're aware, this is still very active investigation, so information is limited and won't be speaking to a lot of specifics. But what I can say is that approximately 2:18 this afternoon, Portland police officers responded to the 10,000 block of Southeast Main Street on the report of a shooting. So they came in via a 911 call. Officers confirmed that federal agents had been involved in a shooting. Portland police were not involved in that incident. About 6 minutes later, at 2:24 p.m., officers received information once again through dispatch that a man who had been shot was calling and requesting help in the area of Northeast 146th and East Burnside. Our officers responded. We found a male and a female with apparent gunshot wounds. Officers applied a tourniquet and summoned emergency medical personnel. The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown. Officers had determined that the two people who were injured in the shooting involving the federal agents from the earlier call. PPB officers secured both scenes, and this is a federal investigation. It's being led by the FBI. We have been in touch with them. We are, in regular contact. This is their responsibility, but when we have these type of events happen in the city, Portland Police Bureau does offer a level of assistance. This is not any way, shape, or form immigration related on our end. We do not know the facts of this case. We are simply providing that traditional investigative support and perimeter support, which is minimal. But I do want to make it clear that we are out there, but we are not involved in immigration. And we at this time do not know if this is an immigration-related event. We do not know which federal, as we know there are many federal agencies serving in the city of Portland right now. So as I said, it's a complex situation with a lot of different information coming out. But Portland Police is on the scene, the detectives, et cetera. I want to say, that I'm saddened that we are here once again in a difficult, challenging, complex situation. But I'm also incredibly grateful for Portlanders. I'm grateful for the way that we have continued to show up over the past year, and we have certainly been tested. And this is no small circumstance. The uncertainty and the fear and the sadness within our community is real. And as the Chief Law Enforcement of the City of Portland, I recognize that, our members recognize that, and we are doing everything in our power to maintain that level of peace and calm and safety. And I want to thank Portlanders who have continued to show up in this space as well, and hopeful that they will do so over the next couple of days, as I'm expecting many to want to express their frustration and disappointment with events today. As I said, this is early on. We do not know the cause, but we are engaged, and hopefully we'll have more information as the evening unfolds. I'm going to turn it over now to Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Chief. And I just want to also just reiterate what he had talked about the city standing tall and really standing together. And I've been before you already too many times under these circumstances, but I'm grateful that every time I do make the call within such a short period of time that the Madam Governor will answer the call, and all of the individuals standing behind me and all of our elected officials and community leaders are standing with us as well. And we've always stood together, and we will continue to stand together. Just one day after the horrific violence in Minnesota, our community here in Portland was witness to a moment of fear, confusion, and heartbreak. Earlier this afternoon, 2 people were shot and injured by federal agents in the Hazelwood neighborhood. Violence in our community is devastating. These are not statistics. These are human beings. Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents. When the administration talks about using full force, we are seeing what it means on our streets. The consequences are not abstract. They are felt in hospital rooms and living rooms, in the quiet moments when families try to make sense of what happened, what is happening. We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past. That is why we are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place. Our community deserves answers. Our community deserves accountability. And most of all, our community deserves peace. Earlier today, I spoke with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. We shared not just our concerns, but our grief for the families who are suffering, and grief for the recklessness of our federal government. The administration is trying to divide us, to pit communities against one another, to make us fear one another. Portland, this is a moment to hold each other close, to stand together, to remember that our strength has always come from community, compassion, and solidarity. Yesterday, Governor Walz made an appeal to all of us. Today, I want to say clearly that we stand with Minneapolis, we stand with Minnesota, we stand with Chicago, we stand with LA. We stand with every community that is hurting in our nation, every family that is afraid, every person who feels unseen or unheard. ICE agents and their Homeland Security leadership must fully be investigated and held responsible for the violence inflicted on the American people in Minnesota, in Portland, and in all the communities across America. The Federal Protective Service claims values such as service, integrity, honor, and vigilance. This is the moment to live those values, not behind masks, not through intimidation, but through transparency, accountability, most of all, humanity. So thank you. I'd like to turn it over to the Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Day. Good evening, Oregonians. We are standing here today united as a state, wanting peace and safety in our communities. We are all shaken and outraged by another terrible, unnecessary, violent event instigated by the reckless agenda of the Trump administration. This time in our own state, in our largest city, coming just one day after the tragedy in Minnesota. While the details of the incident remain limited, one thing is very clear. When a president endorses tearing families apart and attempts to govern through fear rather than shared values, you foster an environment of lawlessness, recklessness. Trust is essential to maintaining community safety and the rule of law. Federal agents at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security are shattering trust. They are hurting people and they are destroying day by day what we hold dear. Our sense of safety and our literal safety are severely undermined by what happened this afternoon in Portland. I'm so thankful that no one died and more people weren't hurt. The Attorney General and other leaders have been clear about our concerns with the excessive use of force by federal agents in Portland. And today's incident only heightens the need for transparency and accountability. Oregonians deserve clear answers. And I am aligned with Mayor. The priority right now is a full, completed investigation, not more detentions. My message to the federal government is this: we demand transparency. We demand your cooperation with Portland Police and the Multnomah County DA, because we need to investigate this incident efficiently and effectively so we can rebuild trust with our nation's government. There are those who want to cause chaos, but Oregonians know how to stand up and speak out peacefully. We must remain united in peaceful opposition to efforts to tear our community apart. We must not turn against each other. We must stand neighbor to neighbor. We must not take the bait. And I want to end by saying I'm grateful to the first responders who have been managing this incident today here in Portland. And we stand united with Americans across our country and with Minneapolis and Minnesota in light of these very troubling events. Thank you. I'd now like to hand over the podium to Senator Casey Jama, Democratic leader in the Oregon Senate.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Senator Casey Jama. I also serve as the Senate Majority Leader. I live Hazelwood neighborhood. The incident took place not that far where I live in my home. I'm raising my two children and live with my wife. I have a few messages, but let me start to say this one first. My prayer is to the families and those who are hurt, and I hope they will recover speedily. As I said, I have been in the country about 28 years and I'm a former refugee. I have never thought I would see this moment in the United States of America. This is a challenging time for us. My colleagues and I are working together to ensure that we address this issue at the state legislative level. We want to do as best as we can to protect the Oregonians who are fearful, who are scared, who are facing persecution under federal law. So we're going to introduce quite a number of bills that will try to minimize the impact of ICE in our community. I'm outraged and angry and frustrated, as many Oregonians are. Let me speak to Oregonians. I share your frustration. And immigrant refugee community, let me talk directly to them. I share your fear. I share your challenges that we're all facing. And I know that the struggle is real. Let me say this to the Oregonians. Oregonians are welcoming. State of Oregon is welcoming state. We want to keep that way. We want to fight for that. We want to work hard for that. And we want to make sure that all Oregonians feel welcome. let me say to this to the federal agencies and the ICE, this is Oregon. We do not need you. You're not welcome. You need to get the hell out of our community. Now I want to turn to the podium to Multnomah County Chair Jessica Figebert Peterson.
Good evening, everyone. If we were living in anything close to normal times, we would not be here right now. We should not be here right now because federal agents should not be in Portland neighborhoods shooting people. We should not be here right now because Renee Nicole Good should be alive and with her family in Minnesota right now. I want everyone to know that Multnomah County stands united in support of our immigrant and refugee neighbors and everyone opposing this injustice. I am proud to be joined tonight by Commissioner Moyer, Commissioner Edwards, and Commissioner Jones-Dixon. Enough is enough. The terror and violence ICE is causing in our neighborhoods must end now. At this moment, we don't know what precipitated the incident, the circumstances that led to the shooting, or the identities of people involved. The FBI will be leading the investigation, and they need to allow local law enforcement to participate, and they need to be transparent and accountable to local governments. We know that this news is incredibly alarming and upsetting. We know what happens today speaks to a fear that we have had since last fall when federal law enforcement and immigration agents first increased their presence in our community. Multnomah County will not stand by as federal governments attack our neighbors. Just this morning, our board unanimously voted to extend an emergency declaration in response to the ongoing harm of ICE activity, and we will keep showing up in every way that we can. During our vote, I shared that over the holidays, my office received a string of emails and calls from neighbors in the Brentwood-Darlington neighborhood who are asking for help to find 2 neighbors who were kidnapped by federal agents the day after Christmas. Both of these people are the primary breadwinners for their families, and their children attend the local elementary school. As a parent, my heart breaks for their families and the whole community that has been impacted by these cruel actions. Add to this the horrific murder of Renee Nicole Good in Minnesota, the dozens of lives that have been lost in ICE detention this year, and now a shooting here in Portland. And we can only conclude that this federal activity is a threat to our entire community and is a threat that is growing every day. In light of this, our community is calling on us to act, to deploy resources to support the families impacted by federal activity, and to do all that's in our power to ensure the safety of neighbors going forward. That's what the state of Oregon, Portland, and Multnomah County leaders have done and will continue to do as we respond to this crisis. That's what the people of Portland have done, representing the best of Portland to the whole nation as we continue to stand up for injustice. Thank you to all of you who have come out to protest the cruel and authoritarian actions of this administration while representing Portland's values. Keep showing up the way you have been. Keep raising your voices. Keep showing everyone who we are. Our neighbors and the literal crosshairs of this administration need your support now more than ever. Our solidarity is our strength. These are dark times. There's no getting around that. But I know that together we will persevere. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Portland City Councilor Loretta Smith.
Good evening. My name is Loretta Smith, and I'm a counselor from District 1. I stand here with my other counselors, Counselor Candace Avalos and Jamie Dunphy. This situation just got real. This is not a PlayStation moment where you can shoot folks and they come back alive again. I live in that district. The struggle is already real for immigrants and refugees who live in our community and our neighborhoods. And now I have to go home and tell my son and my 3 grandkids that they cannot stop for law enforcement because they're going to be afraid by looking at law enforcement that they might have the same thing happen to them that happened today. That is so unconscionable that just a day later, what happened in Minneapolis happening right here in Portland. This is very personal for me. And people who look like me, they shouldn't be afraid to walk around in their neighborhoods, walking to school in the morning with their kids. They should feel comfortable in their neighborhoods. And now we're disarmed now. We don't know who to trust. But I want to say here, I support the mayor, I support the governor in their efforts to do the things that we need to do to get ICE out of our state, in our city, in our neighborhoods. The harassment, the violence, the unconscionable walking around and infiltrating our communities as if we're some sort of third world country. It's not cool. And it's not something that we should support. I feel good, I feel strong standing next to my elected leaders and my community leaders behind me. We have to do whatever we need to do to make sure that ICE is no more.
I'd like to introduce Latino Network and Tony DeFalco.
Good evening. Tony DeFalco, Executive Director at Latino Network. We are hurting tonight in our community. We are tired of this violence in our community, and we're pissed off. Just last week, we buried one of our young people from gun violence, not less than a mile from this site at 148th and Burnside. This kind of violence is nothing new to our neighborhoods here in Portland and Multnomah County, and we've been working hard for decades to reduce this trend of gun violence by private individuals, but worse, by state-sponsored violence in our neighborhoods. And for this to happen tonight, in many ways, is not a surprise to us. It has been perpetrated upon us for many, many decades as part of routine operations to balance power against our community. So tonight, we have a few calls to action. One, we call on our state leadership to continue its efforts to minimize the role of federal authorities in our communities and to enact legislation in the short session that allows for private right to action, to sue, to enable our Attorney General and others to bring charges against the perpetrators of these violent acts, and to go even further to protect immigrant communities from this ongoing violence and oppression. Two, we desperately need investment in our community. We are picking up the pieces. 2 weeks ago, 2 mothers were taken from their families. In our community, the mothers are the glue that holds everything together. And by targeting mothers, they are trying to rip away the fabric of our very community. The ability to take care of our young people, to take care of entire families, and to match up breadwinners, resources that are coming in with the ability to get kids to school, get kids into preschool, is absolutely devastating to us. And we are desperately trying to fill the gaps by providing wraparound supports to our communities in the form of rent eviction prevention, food, other necessary things coming from these violent acts of detention and now physical violence. Those resources are not coming from our state yet. We need those resources to come from our state immediately. And last, we are gathering tonight to mourn this act of violence at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, and we're asking all those that are watching or reading tonight to join us to honor all of those that have been impacted by these violent acts by our federal agencies over the last several months, and to know that we cannot be ripped apart despite these intentions of our federal government. We will continue to hold each other close and continue to be the strong fabric that our entire city, county, and state need from our Latina community. Thank you. Next up, Pastors Hennessy and Knutson.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to choose. Go ahead, you lead.
Come close.
I'll come close.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. J.W. Matt Hennessy, the pastor of the historic Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church here in Portland, and also the leader of the Interfaith Peace and Action Collaborative. My friends, I echo very comments that have already been made, and I want to be clear about that. The comments of recognizing that the reason why federal agents are here is because of a false narrative in the first place, when people were told that Portland was on fire, Portland was burning. Portland is a great city, and it's a city I've been a member of for the last 37 years, and I'm not going to let anybody try to make it any worse. One thing's for sure, we have our issues, just like every city does, but we are determined to work together to make sure that we resolve the problems or issues or challenges we have, and we do not need help from the federal agencies to do in more. If they want to do anything, they should go back and restore the grant money that was there that we use to build bridges with police and community. They ought to be thinking about how we restore money to bridges like the Burnside Bridge and things of that nature. That's what we need. But until then, we're not going to let anybody take our joy. We're not going to let anybody cause us to be afraid. And I want the immigrant community, and specifically, as Tony just spoke about the Latinx community, we are with you. As faith leaders, as members of the Black community, I want you to know you are our brothers and sisters, and nobody is going to stop us, and nobody is going to break the chain of our belief in working together. So we will work together. Those who came before us and the allies who worked with them, they had worse situations going on, but nothing stopped them. And I end on the fact that I still recall that one of my favorite verses of We Shall Overcome is the verse that says, we are not afraid. Mm-hmm. We are not afraid, and we will not be made to fear. We are going to rise above it, reach out to one another, and do everything that we can to work together, pray together, protest together, peacefully together, and remember, let's not take the bait. We can do this peacefully, and peace and love always win.
Reverend Dr. Stone with me now. Thank you, Dr. Hennessy, and to the mayor and the governor. Thanks for your leadership and all the elected leaders, Chief Day, and all our friends, Tony and the rest. My name is Reverend Dr. W.J. Mark Knutson, Senior Pastor, Augustana Lutheran Church, a church that declared sanctuary my first year there 30 years ago because people were facing deportation. We're in a lawsuit right now with the federal government, with Pacun, our church, a church in Florida, a large Catholic church in San Diego, and the Interfaith Council of San Francisco. It's moving now quickly in the courts. And the National Education Association has joined that as well. So around this country and this city and state, people are weaving together a movement built on nonviolent direct action to challenge what is into something that can be new. I do want to say to the press today, we celebrate your work. You're not fake, you do real news, and you are storytellers. There wouldn't have been a civil rights movement or a farm workers movement in the same manner without the press being there to cover it. So thank you, and know you're valued. Let me say this, my 1 minute's almost up. I followed a Baptist pastor, so I can take a little bit more time. But I want to say this. We're coming up on the King weekend. And a year ago, we backed our 30th King service back a week until this new administration came into office. Mayor, you came and spoke at that. And we packed the church. People were ready a year ago, January, to stand up and stand solidarity. Our prayers are number one with our immigrant siblings, the couple that's in trouble today. We have members from 23 countries. I don't know if that's not one of our members from Venezuela and his wife. It's going through all of our minds. Some of my colleagues say, you were crying. I was crying. We are all crying. We are so torn in this moment, and with a very diverse family myself, as a white male, I can drive around, but my son, my wife, my grandson, daughter, others, our biggest extended family, it's dangerous out there. And so to know this, the faith community, interfaith, we work closely together in Oregon. Our Native American spiritual leaders on whose land we stand. Jewish leaders, Muslim leaders, Hindu leaders, Sikh leaders, Christian leaders, other people of faith, and people of just goodwill to say enough is enough. This cannot continue. It is inhuman. With King's celebration coming up in just a week, his last couple sermons at Ebenezer and then at the National Cathedral and then at Riverside Church in New York, he said the biggest purveyor of violence in the world in 1968, the week before he was murdered, is our own government. Those words 60 years later train truly, because we have sisters and brothers who are us, our brown and black siblings, our LGBTQ members are afraid tonight, and we should all be standing in fear and holding together one another and saying to this man in the White House, now I know you're watching, I'll call you out, study your scripture. Don't be doing theological malpractice. Study your scriptures. What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with the Creator and with one another. And in that spirit, Oregon, you've shown we can do this nonviolently. Read the 6 principles of nonviolent direct action. Keep doing what you are doing in a peaceful way. We shall overcome. God bless all of you. God bless our elected leaders, our civic leaders. All of us together, we can do this. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Jessica Maravilla with the ACLU.
This is tall. Okay. Good evening. My name is Jessica Maravilla, and I'm the Policy Director for the ACLU of Oregon. We're an organization dedicated to protecting civil liberties and civil rights, and a core part of our work is defending immigrant and refugee rights. As you heard today, less than 24 hours after Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by ICE in Minneapolis, 2 people in our communities were shot by ICE here in Portland. Our hearts are with those who were injured, their families, and with everyone carrying fear tonight, because this is not an isolated incident. This is the continuation of ICE harming our communities. While there is still much we don't know, we do know this. People are in the hospital tonight because of the actions taken by our federal government, funded by our tax dollars. And this did not happen in isolation. For months, federal immigration agencies have operated with impunity, deploying heavily armed agents into American communities, smashing car windows, dragging people from their vehicles, tear gassing peaceful protesters, and terrorizing neighborhoods. This is what it looks like when a government brings a war posture into everyday life, into streets, into sidewalks, and communities where people are supposed to be safe. Si sienten rabia, no están exagerando. Esta no es seguridad. No es seguridad pública. Es intimidación como política. Everyone deserves dignity. People deserve to go to work, to take their kids to school, to go to medical appointments, to live their everyday lives and stand in solidarity with neighbors being harmed, without fear of being detained, harmed, or killed by the federal government. Nadie debería vivir con miedo simplemente por existir. No human being is collateral damage. Renee Good and the 2 community members shot today are human beings. They are our neighbors. Her death, alongside the violence we witness here today, is a warning about what happens when cruelty is normalized and accountability disappears. This is about law versus lawlessness, dignity versus fear, and whether we will tolerate violence carried out in our name. We cannot undo what has already happened, but we can refuse what comes next. We can demand accountability, insist on transparency, and stand together calmly, firmly, and peacefully to protect one another. La verdadera seguridad nace de la comunidad, del respeto y de los derechos humanos. Y eso es lo que seguiremos defendiendo juntos. We are working with our state elected leaders to advance legislation next month, and we want to demand more transparency, meaningful accountability, because public safety must never come at the expense of human rights. As our community is now saying, enough is enough. Not a slogan, as a practice. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, everyone. Mi nombre es Andrea Valderrama, el representante estatal del Distrito 47 Outer East Portland. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Valderrama. I'm the state representative of House District 47, and I live in the Hazelwood neighborhood. I am horrified by the violence that we've heard about just down the street from my house where I was today. My heart goes out to those hurt today. I've been proud to be the first proven American to serve in the Oregon legislature. My family came to this country fleeing really the same type of violent tactics that we're seeing in my neighborhood and in this city and across this country today. And so it was so difficult to have yet another conversation with my daughter today about the violence that we're seeing in our neighborhood, and to hear from her the support that her school is providing for children who are terrified of walking home, who are terrified of participating in their extracurricular activities, who are unable to just pay attention in their classrooms. I absolutely stand against separating families, against destabilizing our kiddos and our families in this moment. Our communities deserve to stay together. Everyone's families and mothers and children deserve to stay together. This legislative session, I'll be bringing forward legislation to continue to strengthen and protect child stabilization, post-detention and deportation. And I'll share updates as soon as possible on the situation in my neighborhood. I think the last thing that I just wanted to share is, as we are horrified and as I continue to mourn and do what I can as a mother to remain calm and provide peaceful support to her, I continue to feel hope with all of the incredible leaders that we have in this state, from our governor all the way down to our school district, to our neighborhood. I know that in Oregon, we are resisting peacefully. We are resisting in the way that we can. And I want to thank everyone here today and the leaders, whether you are a fellow mom in the neighborhood or our state governor. I'm so appreciative of all of the support, and know that we continue to resist always and stand with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Valderrama, and to all of our speakers. We have some time for some Q&A right now. I just want to remind everyone, this event happened just a few hours ago. The investigation is just getting off the ground, and nobody in this room is directly involved with that investigation. So please keep that in mind. It would be irresponsible for anyone up here to speculate on what exactly happened. All that said, we thought it was important to address this incident. With that, we'll take Q&A. Please state your name and who you're with and who the question's for. We'll start with Anna Griffin.
Anna Griffin from the New York Times. Governor, Mayor, and Tutte, what are you actually hearing from the feds right now? Are they communicating with you? It seems like we have very little detail locally.
Yeah, shortly after this event occurred, I did have a phone call with the Assistant Special Agent in charge here in Portland of the FBI, and we've been in regular communication with them. We, of course, were on scene, as I mentioned, out on 148th and Burnside, and as well as Portland Adventist, where federal officers were. So we quickly had, sergeants on scene to collaborate with their supervisors. So we are in communication as of just before this briefing, knowing that, we're in communication with one another. But it is their primary responsibility, primarily the lead. And so, as Mike already commented, it's, really would be speculation much beyond the fact that we are talking to one another in terms of, responsibilities, who's doing what, et cetera.
Are you hearing from DHS, Governor?
No, I've not spoken with the federal government at all.
I'm Chief Day Adrian Thomas with KPTV. DHS put out a statement this afternoon on this incident saying that one of the individuals was connected to a previous shooting in Portland. Is that true, and do you have any information on that? And what are the conditions of these two individuals right now?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the statement that was put out. I can't comment on whether or not that's the case. We don't know who these individuals are. We have not, they haven't been identified or shared their identification with us. And I don't know this. I don't know the condition of them at this time, just knowing that they were taken to local hospitals.
John Adams from KGW. We saw in the incident in Minnesota that there was surveillance video readily available after the incident. Are you aware of any surveillance video that may have captured this incident?
I'm not aware of any at this time, no. Have not seen any.
Hi there, Chief. Shane Dixon Kavanaugh, reporting with the Oregonian. Do you know whether or not Train Day Aragua is active in Portland?
I don't have any information that would link that at this time, no.
Yeah, Alex with the OPB. Do you know the nationality of the folks who?
No, I've heard a lot of different comments. I don't want to comment on that. I can't be specific. I've heard different references, and it might be confusing some of that information. So, no, I don't have that specifically.
KXL in the Oregon Media News Network, Heather Roberts. Is this a normal course of action? Is this standard procedure to have the FBI lead a shooting investigation, a law enforcement involved shooting investigation inside the city limits?
Yeah, on the federal side it is, yes. And I've been clear since we started down this road, in January of last year, that we've continued to keep open lines of communication with our federal partners, for, unfortunately, even moments like this. But on a local level, we value the ability to be able to pick up the phone, to call one another, to try and figure it out, understanding there's limitations, as we have tried to work through over the last year. And so we are present in a role that's supportive of trying to make sure that this is done equitably and accurately, safely, but they are the primary lead on it.
Well, Jones with Point 6 News. My question is, federal statements suggest that this vehicle was allegedly weaponized against agents. Do your officers have any evidence to suggest that claim is true or to justify the use of deadly force?
Okay, the question was whether or not there's been any evidence to support a statement that was made that the vehicle was weaponized in this event, correct? Is that the question? And we don't have any information on that. As I mentioned, we responded after the fact to both the shooting scene. Once we were at the shooting scene, the vehicle was already gone, because then 6 or 7 minutes later, we responded to where the victims had called 911. So we don't have any firsthand information. Excuse me?
Were the federal agents involved in this shooting still on the ground when officers arrived?
Yes, there were federal officers both at the original scene and then federal officers at the scene farther away. But we don't have any information to confirm or deny, the behavior of the vehicle, the use of the vehicle.
Yes, Courtney Baum with the Portland Mercury. I know recently federal agencies, DHS, has asked you for investigative files related to arrests. Are you in a position to be able to ask for the same thing of these federal officers? Is the FBI going to keep you apprised? Are you in a position to be asked for records related to the investigation the same way they've asked the Portland Police Bureau?
Well, the question is whether or not we are in a position to ask for records, documentation in a manner similar to how the Department of Justice is asking them of the Portland Police Bureau right now. I think you're referencing our settlement agreement. So it's not quite an apples to apples comparison. There's, a couple of different things there that are nuanced. Certainly there is an opportunity for, whether it be the city of Portland or the state of Oregon, to make a request for that information. I mean, from a public record standpoint, whether or not, that process will bear any fruit, I don't know. Different than the conversation we're having around the Department of Justice attempting to utilize settlement agreement to retrieve information that we believe they don't need to have access to.
Do you expect the FBI to keep you apprised of the status of the investigation as it unfolds?
Well, this is uncharted territory for us. I'm not exactly sure. Frankly, there's a lot of competing interest, as we know, in this area. I value, like I said, our local partnerships and the communication and transparency that we have shared. But there's also a lot of cooks in the kitchen here with a lot of strong opinions. And all I can say is, in the moment, we have had lines of communication. Whether that will change or not over the course of time, I don't know.
Do you have a sense of how many federal officers were involved in the shooting and maybe how many shots were fired?
No, I don't have the details of that right now.
Anything else?
Question. My name is Ernesto, Chief Executive of Hacienda CDC. Today, what is your assessment regarding the national trend in terms of involving ICE, Border Patrol agents, and so on and so forth? They are always right. So what makes us believe that any investigation that they conduct will be accurate, just, and real? And what is the role of our authorities locally to unravel, to counter? If you're not involved at all, what makes us believe that they are already sacrificing and saying things online and in public outlets that these people were from Tren de Aragua, that they were from a prostitution ring and so on and so forth. I mean, they already made the judgment. In Minnesota, you already saw this. They stepped away from involving local police enforcement and kept that investigation with just the FBI, which obviously is going to lean towards benefiting the federal government entirely. I mean, I don't trust the federal government whatsoever. So what are we doing, to counter that kind of misinformation they provide?
Yeah, and just to summarize, I want to make sure I'm hearing the question correctly, is, what are we doing specifically to challenge or potentially counter the narrative or the description of events or the results of the investigations, et cetera. And this has really been sort of the crux of the conversation over the last year, and it's something that weighs heavily on me as a local law enforcement leader. What is the position not only of, myself, but also the Portland Police Bureau in general? We are actively working with as many folks as we can, whether it be our city attorney, the attorney general's office, the governor's office, et cetera, the mayor. We are constantly evaluating what is our role. The challenge I think that many of us are facing, understandably so, is the want for certainty, the want for clarity, and what saddens me in this process is the tearing down of legitimacy around law enforcement, and something that we have worked so hard for in this community. I stood here just a moment ago thinking that this is really an example about how joy and sorrow can coexist at the same time, because this room represents something that's unique in terms of, as a police chief, in terms of the relationship for community. So I hear what you're saying, and to answer your question specifically, at any opportunity that we have that we're able to step in, much like we are doing tonight, we try to take advantage of that, and not take advantage of that in a bad way, take advantage of that in a sense that we want to be available to determine as much information as we can to try and bring legitimacy to the process. But there are, long-standing historical court decisions and authorities granted to the federal government that are certainly being tested over the last year in the area specific of policing. And we rely upon, the counsel of others, attorneys, and the rulings from judges. We saw this in the court case that we had with the National Guard. You had 3 Portland police commanders testify. We were the only ones who testified on behalf of the city of Portland, was 3 Portland police leaders over the course of 2 days, which the judge agreed with to prevent the National Guard from being deployed in Portland. And that was based upon the work we had been doing in terms of gathering information, staying true to the rule of law, being factual in our reporting. So the best that I can offer, and I know this is hollow and not enough, but the best that I can offer is that Portland Police Bureau will continue to adhere to the rule of law. We will continue to document. We will continue to be engaged. We will continue to be vigilant. We will continue to report behavior that is illegal or certainly outside the lines, but we are also going to continue to show up for all of Portlanders.
We have time for one more. Go ahead.
John Rudolph.
You two in that, and we got
a brief question. Homeland Security put out a tweet on X a couple of hours ago alleging a whole array of facts about the shooting. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have, but I have no information to verify the validity or accuracy of it.
Last question.
Natalie Fertig with Politico. My question is for the governor. I know you've spoken to the president in the past sometimes when there's been situations sort of similar to this. Have you reached out to the White House? Are you trying to have a conversation with him about this?
Well, this is a fast-moving situation just from this afternoon. I have not spoken to anyone in the administration, but I have been in contact with Governor Walz in Minnesota. And I just want to reiterate that we in Oregon are shocked and saddened by what happened in Minneapolis, and that Americans across the country, including governors, are standing together to say we need something to change from the federal government. There's always a moment that things can be better and different. Maybe this will be that moment where we actually have partnership with our federal government to understand the facts, get to the bottom of this, and stop the violence in our communities. And I know that governors around the country believe that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you for being here again on such short notice. At this point, I do not anticipate another briefing or news conference this evening, but I know my team and the communications team for the city is engaged and will be throughout the coming hours and days, so be on the lookout for communication from our teams. With that, thank you for being here and have a safe evening. You guys want to...
What's going on? How are you, sir?
Hey, good to see you.
Law enforcement officers at risk every single day. That you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis, when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourself.
好，根据目击者所拍摄的影片，当时其实有一名移民与海关执法局的人员把枪近距离朝着这名女性驾驶至少开了2枪，随后就在车辆开上他之后就跳开了。那么现在纽时就报道，中队指出，这辆车看起来是想要离开，而不是要冲撞执法人员。目前已经知道死者身份是37岁的女子，而且是美国公民古德，育有3个孩子。而在他的车上当中，还有发现有大量他子女的玩具。整体事件现在引发全美的抗议。好，这一起事件呢，其实死者的母亲现在出来说话，她说呢，女儿是很有同情心的，是不会去对抗联邦执法探员的那种人。来看一下CNN的报道。
Mother of 3, a partner, and a poet, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, as described by those who knew her. Her neighbors now mourning their loss. She was shot and killed near the site of an immigration enforcement operation Wednesday after dropping off her 6-year-old son at school, according to the Associated Press. Multiple videos obtained by CNN show the moments before she was shot, about 9:30 a.m. that morning. Video shows her car driving up to the scene about 3 minutes before the deadly confrontation with ICE agents. Okay.
好，其实最具争议的就是呢，移民局的探员就对着这一辆车子里头连开了3枪，所以导致这名37岁的女性驾驶不幸的死亡。现在她的身份被起底的是，她根本不是所谓的非法移民，而是美国公民，是本土白人，当然引发了很多民众的怒火。而该市的市长也怒向移民探员要滚出去，全美有多座城市现在都出现了示威浪潮。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶重弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭，移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当天数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出当地。 外界关注事件是否会演变成全美
千名探员前往明州的明尼阿波利斯，不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车子连开了3枪，造成车内37岁的女驾驶身亡。那这名女子呢，她是美国的白人公民，并不是当局锁定的非法移民，所以引起了轩然大波。市长怒呛移民探员滚出去，全美多座城市也出现了示威现象。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭，移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当天数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出。
也是美国公民，不但震惊全美，同时也引发了明尼苏达州的群众愤怒。不过，现在联邦政府是口径一致，认为因为死者是企图冲撞执法人员。不过，州长华兹召开记者会，痛斥美国总统川普是未审先判，让案件很难有公平的结果。
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know, don't know.
由于美国联邦政府的官员他们口径是一致的，而国土安全部部长诺姆甚至指控是被害人企图开车冲撞执法人员是本土恐怖主义的行为，因此不但是在当地引发了上千人的抗议，首都华府以及东岸大城费城都有民众冒着低温上街抗议，而川普政府对于移民的严厉执法现在也引发了一些争议。好，整体事件呢，现在这个美国联邦政府是认为说，他当时是试图要开车冲撞执法人员，所以这个执法人员他们是出于自卫的立场来对他开枪。而现在这个地方官员还有媒体看法是南辕北辙。美国副总统范斯在台湾时间今天的凌晨召开记者会，就表示说，这个执法过当的媒体应该觉得自己很可耻。
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. That you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
好，根据目击者所拍摄的影片，当时其实有一名移民与海关执法局的人员拔枪，近距离朝着这名女性驾驶至少开了2枪，随后就在车辆开向他之后就跳开了。那么现在纽时就报道，进一步指出，这辆车看起来是想要离开，而不是要冲撞执法人员。目前已经知道死者身份是37岁的女子，而且她是美国公民古德，育有3个孩子。而在她的车上当中，还有发现有大量她子女的玩具。整体事件现在引发全美的抗议。好，这一起事件呢，其实死者的母亲现在出来说话，她说呢，女儿是很有同情心的，是不会去对抗联邦执法探员的那种人。来看一下 CNN 的报道。
Mother of 3, a partner and a poet, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, as described by those who knew her. Her neighbors now mourning their loss. She was shot and killed near the site of an immigration enforcement operation Wednesday after dropping off her 6-year-old son at school, according to the Associated Press. Multiple videos obtained by CNN show the moments before she was shot at about 9:30 a.m. that morning. Video shows her car driving up to the scene about 3 minutes before the deadly confrontation with ICE agents.
好，其实最具争议的就是呢，移民局的探员就对着这一辆车子里头连开了3枪，所以导致这名37岁的女性驾驶不幸的死亡。现在她的身份被起底了，其实她根本不是所谓的非法移民，而是美国公民，是本土白人，当然引发了很多民众的怒火。而该市的市长也怒呛移民探员要滚出去，全美有多座城市现在都出现了示威浪潮。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭，移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出当地。外界关注事件是否会演变成全美
千名探员前往明州的明尼阿波利斯，不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车子连开了3枪，造成车内37岁的女驾驶身亡。那这名女子呢，她是美国的白人公民，并不是当局锁定的非法移民，所以引起了轩然大波。市长怒呛移民探员滚出去，全美多座城市也出现了示威现象。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭，移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出。
也是美国公民，不但震惊全美，同时也引发了明尼苏达州的群众愤怒。不过，现在联邦政府是口径一致，认为因为死者是企图冲撞执法人员。不过，州长华兹召开记者会，痛斥美国总统川普是未审先判，让案件很难有公平的结果。
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even don't know.
由于美国联邦政府的官员他们口径是一致的，而国土安全部部长诺姆甚至指控是被害人企图开车冲撞执法人员是本土恐怖主义的行为，因此不但是在当地引发了上千人的抗议，首都华府以及东岸大城费城都有民众冒着低温上街抗议，而川普政府对于移民的严厉执法现在也引发了一些争议。好，整起事件呢，现在这个美国联邦政府是认为说，他当时是试图要开车冲撞执法人员，所以这个执法人员他们是出于自卫的立场来对他开枪。而现在这个地方官员还有媒体看法是南辕北辙。美国副总范斯在台湾时间今天的凌晨召开记者会，就表示说，这个执法过当的媒体应该觉得自己很可耻。
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. That you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
好，根据目击者所拍摄的影片，当时其实有一名移民与海关执法局的人员拔枪，近距离朝着这名女性驾驶至少开了2枪，随后就在车辆开向他之后就跳开了。那么现在纽时就报道，进一步指出，这辆车看起来是想要离开，而不是要冲撞执法人员。目前已经知道死者身份是37岁的女子，而且她是美国公民古德，育有3个孩子。而在她的车上当中，还有发现有大量她子女的玩具。整起事件现在引发全美的抗议。好，这一起事件呢，其实死者的母亲现在出来说话，她说呢，女儿是很有同情心的，是不会去对抗联邦执法探员的那种人。来看一下 CNN 的报道。
Mother of 3, a partner, and a poet, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, as described by those who knew her. Her neighbors now mourning their loss. She was shot and killed near the site of an immigration enforcement operation Wednesday after dropping off her 6-year-old son at school, according to the Associated Press. Multiple videos obtained by CNN show the moments before she was shot at about 9:30 a.m. that morning. Video shows her car driving up to the scene about 3 minutes before the deadly confrontation with ICE agents.
好，其实最具争议的就是呢，移民局的探员就对着这一辆车子里头连开了3枪，所以导致这名37岁的女性驾驶不幸的死亡。现在她的身份被起底了，其实她根本不是所谓的非法移民，而是美国公民，是本土白人，当然引发了很多民众的怒火。而该市的市长也怒呛移民探员要滚出去。全美有多座城市现在都出现了示威浪潮。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭。移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出当地。外界关注事件是否会演变成全美
千名探员前往明州 州的明尼阿波利斯。不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车子连开了3枪，造成车内37岁的女驾驶身亡。那这名女子呢，她是美国的白人公民，并不是当局锁定的非法移民，所以引起了轩然大波。市长怒呛移民探员滚出去，全美多座城市也出现了示威现象。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭。移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出。
也是美国公民，不但震惊全美，同时也引发了明尼苏达州的群众愤怒。不过，现在联邦政府是口径一致，认为因为死者是企图冲撞执法人员。不过，州长华兹召开记者会，痛斥美国总统川普是未审先判，让案件很难有公平的结果。
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know, don't know.
由于美国联邦政府的官员他们口径是一致的，而国土安全部部长诺姆甚至指控是被害人企图开车冲撞执法人员是本土恐怖主义的行为，因此不但是在当地引发了上千人的抗议，首都华府以及东岸大城费城都有民众冒着低温上街抗议，而川普政府对于移民的严厉执法现在也引发了一些争议。好，整体事件呢，现在这个美国联邦政府是认为说他当时是试图要开车冲撞执法人员，所以这个执法人员他们是出于自卫的立场来对他开枪。而现在这个地方官员还有媒体看法是南辕北辙。美国副总范斯在台湾时间今天的凌晨召开记者会，就表示说这个执法过当的媒体应该觉得自己很可耻。
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. That you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
好，根据目击者所拍摄的影片，当时其实有一名移民与海关执法局的人员拔枪，近距离朝着这名女性驾驶至少开了2枪，随后就在车辆开向他之后就跳开了。那么现在纽时就报道，进一步指出，这辆车看起来是想要离开，而不是要冲撞执法人员。目前已经知道死者身份是37岁的女子，而且她是美国公民，古德育有3个孩子。而在她的车上当中，还有发现有大量她子女的玩具。整起事件现在引发全美的抗议。好，这一起事件呢，其实死者的母亲现在出来说话，她说呢，女儿是很有同情心的，是不会去对抗联邦执法探员的那种人。来看一下 CNN 的报道。
Mother of 3, a partner, and a poet, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, as described by those who knew her. Her neighbors now mourning their loss. She was shot and killed near the site of an immigration enforcement operation Wednesday after dropping off her 6-year-old son at school, according to the Associated Press. Multiple videos obtained by CNN show the moments before she was shot at about 9:30 a.m. that morning. Video shows her car driving up to the scene about 3 minutes before the deadly confrontation with ICE agents.
好，其实最具争议的就是呢，移民局的探员就对着这一辆车子里头连开了3枪，所以导致这名37岁的女性驾驶不幸的死亡。现在她的身份被起底了，其实她根本不是所谓的非法移民，而是美国公民，是本土白人，当然引发了很多民众的怒火。而该市的市长也怒呛移民探员要滚出去，全美有多座城市现在都出现了示威浪潮。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭。移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出当地。外界关注事件是否会演变成全美。
千名探员前往明州的明尼阿波利斯，不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车子连开了3枪，造成车内37岁的女驾驶身亡。那这名女子呢，她是美国的白人公民，并不是当局锁定的非法移民，所以引起了轩然大波。市长怒呛移民探员滚出去，全美多座城市也出现了示威现象。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭。移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出。
千名探员前往明州的明尼阿波利斯，不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车子连开了3枪，造成车内37岁的女驾驶身亡。那这名女子呢，她是美国的白人公民，并不是当局锁定的非法移民，所以引起了轩然大波。市长怒呛移民探员滚出去，全美多座城市也出现了示威现象。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭。 移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出。
也是美国公民，不但震惊全美，同时也引发了明尼苏达州的群众愤怒。不过，现在联邦政府是口径一致，认为因为死者是企图冲撞执法人员。不过，州长华兹召开记者会，痛斥美国总统川普是未审先判，让案件很难有公平的结果。
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know, don't know.
由于美国联邦政府的官员他们口径是一致的，而国土安全部部长诺姆甚至指控是被害人企图开车冲撞执法人员是本土恐怖主义的行为，因此不但是在当地引发了上千人的抗议，首都华府以及东岸大城费城都有民众冒着低温上街抗议，而川普政府对于移民的严厉执法现在也引发了一些争议。好，整体事件呢，现在这个美国联邦政府是认为说他当时是试图要开车冲撞执法人员，所以这个执法人员他们是出于自卫的立场来对他开枪。而现在这个地方官员还有媒体看法是南辕北辙。美国副总统范斯在台湾时间今天的凌晨召开记者会，就表示说这个执法过当的媒体应该觉得自己很可耻。
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. That you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
好，根据目击者所拍摄的影片，当时其实有一名移民与海关执法局的人员拔枪，近距离朝着这名女性驾驶至少开了2枪，随后就在车辆开向他之后就跳开了。那么现在纽时就报道，进一步指出，这辆车看起来是想要离开，而不是要冲撞执法人员。目前已经知道死者身份是37岁的女子，而且她是美国公民，古德育有3个孩子。而在她的车上当中，还有发现有大量她子女的玩具。整体事件现在引发全美的抗议。好，这一起事件呢，其实死者的母亲现在出来说话，她说呢，女儿是很有同情心的，是不会去对抗联邦执法探员的那种人。来看一下 CNN 的报道。
Mother of 3, a partner, and a poet, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, as described by those who knew her. Her neighbors now mourning their loss. She was shot and killed near the site of an immigration enforcement operation Wednesday after dropping off her 6-year-old son at school, according to the Associated Press. Multiple videos obtained by CNN show the moments before she was shot at about 9:30 a.m. that morning. Video shows her car driving up to the scene about 3 minutes before the deadly confrontation with ICE agents.
好，其实最具争议的就是呢，移民局的探员就对着这一辆车子里头连开了3枪，所以导致这名37岁的女性驾驶不幸的死亡。现在她的身份被起底了，其实她根本不是所谓的非法移民，而是美国公民，是本土白人，当然引发了很多民众的怒火。而该市的市长也怒呛移民探员要滚出去，全美有多座城市现在都出现了示威浪潮。
美国移民局探员快步走向深红色休旅车，强拉车门，而车子往另一名探员开，就被连开好几枪。一旁民众吓得放声尖叫，车上女驾驶中弹身亡，安全气囊染血，车窗破出明显弹孔，画面触目惊心。自称是死者妻子的女子坐在案发现场附近放声大哭，移民局探员正对死者急救，可是回天乏术。事发在明尼苏达州的明尼阿波利斯，移民探员展开执法行动击毙平民，而现场民众称女子只是要开车逃离现场。美国总统川普表示，探员行为属于正当防卫，说死者是职业煽动者，蓄意冲撞探员。当地市长言辞驳斥，痛批政府所言是胡扯，谴责探员鲁莽，扬言要就责。
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
而这名死者是37岁的美国本土白人女子，并非移民局要抓的非法移民，引起轩然大波。当地数千民众上街抗议，对探员丢雪球攻击，高喊逮捕枪击者，并举行守夜悼念活动，人们献花吟唱。示威潮也蔓延多座城市，纽奥良、西雅图、纽约市都出现人潮，举起标语要移民局滚出当地。外界关注事件是否会演变成全美
千名探员前往明州的明尼阿波利斯，不过行动当中这个探员呢却对一辆车。
大家好，我是主播林家远。生活压力大，失眠、浅眠是现代人常见的烦恼。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌现在进一步推出晚安加强版，添加天然GABA、色氨酸、茶氨酸、香蜂草4大天然草本，帮助睡眠的配方。选择太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，做好日常保养，身体轻松无负担。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good。请上快点购为健康下单，输入推荐码有额外折扣。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最